Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive civilization-level briefing on a pretty fascinating concept, upgrading America's deterministic capability substrate. Now, I know that sounds like something straight out of a heavy engineering textbook, but stick with me here. What it really boils down to is this: automatically converting our national efficiency into your personal financial stability. Let's start with a crucial and frankly empathetic diagnostic. Millions of Americans out there feel overworked, under-rewarded, and just financially exhausted. If you've ever felt like you're running on a treadmill just to keep up with rising costs, you are definitely not alone. But here is the core thesis we're exploring today. This is not a personal failure. You're actually producing more than ever before. The problem is that you're operating within a system that is actively losing value. Your hard work is literally being wasted by the infrastructure around you. So here is our flight plan for this explainer. We'll be looking at 1. The illusion of personal failure. 2. The hidden national wealth drain. 3. The deterministic capability substrate. 4. Generating the national surplus. 5. The American capability dividend. And finally, 6. Recovered waste, not redistribution. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The illusion of personal failure. Systems over individuals. We live in a culture that constantly tells us, if we aren't getting ahead, we just need to hustle harder. But the data forces a major shift in perspective here. Americans produce more than ever, yet capture far less of that value. That feeling of financial stagnation you might have, it's a structural reality. It's not a personal flaw. Despite your immense hard work, the output you generate is just evaporating into the system before it ever even reaches your pocket. Think about these symptoms: being overworked and under-rewarded, feeling financially insecure, unable to build savings, squeezed by rising costs, and just constantly frustrated by delays. We usually treat these as personal shortcomings, right? Like, oh, maybe you didn't budget right, or you didn't manage your time well. But looking through the lens of systems engineering, these are the exact symptoms of a national system that loses way too much of its own capacity. When the system itself is inefficient, you, the individual, bear the burden of that friction. Moving on to Section 2, the hidden national wealth drain, visualizing the turbulence. So where does all the money go? Well, the U.S. economy bleeds trillions of dollars annually. To put that in perspective, that's literally like setting a mountain of cash on fire every single day. And it happens across 3 massive, inefficient fault lines: coordination failures, infrastructure inefficiency, and volatility and instability. This right here is the hidden drain that is actively suppressing household wealth across the country. You can really see the everyday mechanics of this wealth drain across these 3 categories. Let's start with infrastructure inefficiency. Take traffic congestion, for example. The average American wastes nearly 2 full days a year just sitting in traffic, burning time and fuel. Or look at coordination failures, administrative overhead and duplicated effort causing lossy communication between businesses. Then there's volatility, like energy price swings and drought shocks. Everyday frustrations, whether it's a super slow permitting process or an outdated energy grid failing during a storm. They don't just cause headaches, they actively suppress the wealth of the nation. And ultimately, that means they suppress your personal wealth. All right, Section 3, the deterministic capability substrate, the engineering fix. So let's define the solution here. Capability infrastructure. It is a deterministic, computational substrate that stabilizes and amplifies national productivity. Okay, in simpler terms, it's a massive technological upgrade, a stable, reversible, identity-anchored network that optimizes exactly how our national workflows operate. Imagine taking a chaotic, leaky pipe system and replacing it with a perfectly engineered, mathematically precise routing network where absolutely nothing gets lost. Once this deterministic substrate is active, it acts like a giant net. First, it reduces waste. Deterministic routing just stops the inefficiency in its tracks. Second, it increases throughput. When workflows are stable, every worker and institution can output more with the exact same amount of effort. Third, it lowers costs across the board for essentials like food, water, energy, and logistics. And finally, it expands value by enabling entirely new industries and forms of work. This system catches the wealth that previously just evaporated, turning it into a newly captured national surplus. Section 4. Generating the national surplus. Recovering value across domains. Now, our national surplus doesn't just come from thin air. It comes from highly specific engineered improvements across 5 key domains. We capture this surplus by reducing waste in logistics, stabilizing our energy grids, optimizing our water routing, drastically speeding up our emergency response times, and eliminating massive chunks of administrative overhead. Let's break these domains down a bit further. In logistics, deterministic routing reduces delays, fuel waste, and idle time. Over in energy, stable planning prevents grid failures and peak load volatility. For water, identity-anchored routing prevents agricultural losses and drought shocks. And in emergency response, faster coordination prevents property loss and exorbitant medical costs. Every single minute saved, every drop of water properly routed, and every blackout prevented generates measurable, hard financial surplus. Value that used to just disappear is now preserved. Which brings us to Section 5, the American Capability Dividend, the output routing. So, the absolutely crucial question here is what happens to all this newly captured value? Where does that surplus go? Well, it goes to you. We route this value directly to everyday Americans through what systems engineers call the Capability Dividend. Now, to be clear, this isn't a government handout or a stimulus check. Not at all. It is automatic savings generated directly from the hard math of national productivity gains. Here is the exact step-by-step flow of how civilization-level capability translates directly into personal, generational wealth for you. Step 1. We increase national productivity through deterministic coordination. Step 2. We capture the surplus from the reduced waste and increased throughput. Step 3. We route a portion of that newly captured surplus into individual, identity-anchored accounts. And Step 4. Those savings grow automatically. As the nation becomes more capable and efficient, your personal wealth rises right along with it. Now let's look closer at these identity-anchored accounts. The true beauty of this engineered system is that it requires absolutely zero behavior change from you. You don't need to work longer hours, you don't need to become a day trader, you don't need to navigate complex bureaucracies. The dividend is structural. It is tied directly to your identity and your contribution to society, automatically accruing as national performance rises. Over time, this builds essential emergency buffers and true generational wealth. It just automatically rewards you for America's increased efficiency. Finally, Section 6, recovered waste, not redistribution, the critical distinction. Before we wrap up, we absolutely have to separate this from typical politics. It is a critical distinction. On one side, you have redistribution, which is simply taking existing money from one group and moving it to another. That is not what we are talking about here. On the other side, we have the capability dividend. This is recovered waste. We are creating new value by eliminating systemic waste. We are capturing the money that was previously evaporating into thin air because of traffic jams and grid failures, and we are routing it to you. We're creating new wealth by optimizing systems, not moving old wealth around. The source of the dividend is pure, nonpartisan math. It comes strictly from recovered inefficiency, reduced volatility, increased throughput, stabilized infrastructure, and optimized coordination. Lower system waste literally equals higher personal savings. It is really that simple, and it is that powerful. I want to end this explainer by returning right back to where we started, to reaffirm the dignity of the American worker. You're not failing, the system is. And when the system becomes capable, you will feel it in your life. Your hard work absolutely should pay off. You shouldn't feel like you are drowning despite doing everything right. With a deterministic capability substrate, your effort will finally, structurally be rewarded. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. What if your savings account grew automatically every single time America became more efficient? Every time a supply chain was optimized or a power grid was stabilized? Just think about what that means for your family's future and for your peace of mind, and consider how we might build this capable new infrastructure together. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.